All right, folks, let's find our seats, if you will. We just have a couple announcements really quick before we get started. Again, this is my second week in a row where I don't get to speak. It's great. I'm on a little mini vacation. But be warned, we will be continuing on in John chapter 7 next week. But announcements. Next Sunday after service is our Super Bowl potluck party. This is one of the few Super Bowl potluck parties where we're rooting for both teams to lose. I don't know if that can happen or not, but you never know with the power of prayer. What? No. What, you're rooting for San Francisco? 49ers? The Chiefs? What? We'll speak to you later after service. No. The other announcement that I have to make is that, and I don't have a slide for this, but I'll have a trailer for you next week. There's where's my book? Right here. Anybody ever read this book, Letter to the American Church by Eric Metaxas? Okay. It's a thin book. Look, see, it's not very thick. You can read it really quick. It's a quick read. Eric Metaxas is a Christian author. He speaks a lot about historical things usually. He wrote a book about Bonhoeffer, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, that was really popular. Well, he's taken that knowledge and he has written this book, and it's a letter to the American church, and it's, well, I can read you the synopsis. The thing is that they've made a film, a companion documentary film, to go along with the book. And they offered it free to churches to show, and so we signed up and we got a screening, and we'll be doing the screening Sunday, the 25th after service, okay? So the film, sorry, I've got to take off my glasses so I can read this. The film lays out the parallels between early 1930s Nazi Germany and other totalitarian regimes with what is happening in America today and how the church has been mostly silent facing this evil. The film is a wake-up call to the church to stand up and speak out against the evil that is manifesting in our country. Eric Metaxas, of course, it's his book. He's in the movie along with Charlie Kirk, Dr. James Lindsay, Pastor Rob McCoy, Seth Gruber, Pastor David Englehart, Victor Marks, and his wife Eileen Marks. If you know who they are, we should invite Victor one day to come give our men training. If you know who he is, you understand that. But so we'll be showing that movie after church on the 25th. And we're on their website. So if you go to the Letters to the American Church website and you look at screenings, our church shows up at the bottom down there. So we might even get other people who want to come see it, because we're one of the only screenings in the area, so far anyway, for this film. So if you want to see that, stick around after church on the 25th. All right? Okay, that's all I'm going to say. And I give it to Jody and Martin.
Good morning. Jody wants me to stand up, but I think I'll sit. Is that okay? All right. It's good to see everybody here. We have been trying to get here to share about our trip for several weeks, and interesting things happened to us, to our family during that time. I won't go into everything, but it is kind of humorous, this one story I'm going to say. But kind of not humorous, but the first time that we were supposed to speak here on Sunday morning, Saturday night, about 11 o'clock, Jody had one of her heart episodes, and we wound up in the emergency room. And we were in the emergency room, I think, until 4 o'clock. And then finally got home, got her to bed, and then our dog started barking. And our dog never barks at night. So I had to get up. He always sleeps in Katie's room. I had to get up, take him to outside. And then when he came back, he wouldn't go into Katie's room. He had to sit right by our bed, right? So finally about 5, I'm thinking, I can still get up and go speak. But before I go to...
Because Eddie does it all the time.
Yeah, because Eddie does that all the time. That's not the humorous part, but the humorous part is right before I got back in bed, I was in my bed clothing, And I said, I better go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, and I, just closed the door. And when I got done with the bathroom, I could not get the door open. I mean, for reals. It wasn't locked. I turned the knob. I was trying to get out. The knob would turn. Everything would happen. I'd try to get out. I mean, I was in there for about 15 minutes trying to get out. And finally, Jody came and said, "What's wrong?" And then she tried to open it. Isn't that strange? I mean, for no reason. So we have this little slot under the bathroom door. And I said, go get a butter knife. And she got a butter knife, because I have done things with butter knives before to get out. And it wouldn't work. So finally, we're like at 5:45 something. So I had to take the butter knife and unscrew the door and take the whole handle off to get the door open. Isn't that weird? Hasn't done it since. That didn't do it before.
But weird things like that have happened every Sunday we've planned to speak about this.
Yeah.
Every Sunday.
Yeah. So.
Including last night. But
yeah, including last night. We wound up in the hospital again last night.
I'm easy prey. So.
Was there till about, I think, 1 o'clock. But yeah. So, and I'm not one to go and think about that everything that happens is because of the enemy, because of Satan. Some things happen just because they happen, but it just seems like, and I was just going through some texts that I sent to Pastor Rich before we went to Honduras, and like 3 days before Honduras, all these things happened, and I said, I have to come against the enemy, but all during this time, and Jody's going to mention some other things that happened during our trip, but yeah, so some very interesting things have happened to us. But as you know, we did go to a trip to Honduras. We want to share, we have some slides, stories. I will say that before we get started, so those of you who don't know my past, I have probably been on, I would guess, 50 mission trips to Mexico, to Honduras, to way up in northern Canada, to Indian reservations. I've been all, a lot of places, but this last trip was, a life-changing trip, and that's why we want to share. For the first, I would say, 6 weeks, don't do that. We couldn't even share anything with anybody, because it was so touching our hearts. Yeah. So today we want to really focus on what we can do in Honduras to make a difference. So we got tissues for us. You guys probably won't need them. So we want to start out with this scripture, whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. And that's kind of been my model throughout my life. Wherever I've been, faced whatever challenges we've come across, and I can share story after story after story of how God came through. And so we want to do whatever we can now to help. So we'll go ahead and get started. I think Jody's starting.
Yeah. So how did this all come to be? Like, we are church family, and all of a sudden we're going to Honduras. Well, we, as all of you, have had church families before this church family. And I picked this picture of Martin because it's the oldest one I could find, but it's not really it's like 10 years after that picture, but so in Montana, we had an amazing church family, not unsimilar to this one, probably about 4 times bigger, but very involved in each other's lives, felt like home. One of those people is Ashley and Gary Kwasny, and Ashley, I believe, is watching today, so hi, Ashley. So Martin, when he first started, tell me if I'm wrong, and I'll probably get some details wrong, but his first Honduras trip, he took Ashley because she speaks fluent Spanish. After that trip, Ashley and her husband, Gary, moved to Honduras to this orphanage that they all worked at years before. or helped build. Ashley and Gary started a Spanish-speaking school, and they lived there for about 4 years. And then Gary, when they came home, got diagnosed with a neurological condition not unsimilar to like MS. He probably, I think about, I'm probably going to get it wrong, but about 4 years after he got the diagnosis, he passed away a year ago. So Ashley hadn't been back since they left. And when she went back, she had posted something about going, and she didn't want to go alone. And so her and I talked, and we decided to go with her. She said, "You guys want to go?" And I'm like, "Yes." And so then I let them know, guess what? We're going to Honduras. Ah! So we went with Ashley on her first trip back without Gary, and it was really a beautiful, amazing thing. We had crazy things happen getting there even. We ended up spending the night in an airport we never intended to be in. We had to stay up all night.
Our plane was canceled.
Our plane was, we got to the airport. She flew here so we could fly together. So she flew here. We went to the airport. We got there. One of the crew members were sick, and I guess they have to have 4 people. I've never even heard this. They have to have so many crew members depending on the people. And someone got sick. And so everybody was waiting to board. It was like a half an hour before boarding, and they're like, "Sorry, we can't find anybody to take this person's place, so you guys all have to go home." So everybody at that moment was rushing, to go to the counter to rebook. And I decided to call. So I called instead because we can't move that fast. So we called, and Ashley called her travel agent, and they got us on another flight. We actually went back to our house, spent the night, and then the next morning they were like, "We got a flight." So we went back. We ended up in an airport in Georgia, and we got there at 9 p.m. and we had to exit to get our luggage, but they won't let you back in. Fortunately, they have a place at that airport that you can sit. It's not like SeaTac where you're like right by the doors and like little seats or whatever. They have a food court.
Burger King.
There was Burger King open all night, and there was very interesting people at that food court. But we stayed up all night playing games, and then around 3:30 in the morning, we got in line to get our stuff checked in, and we ended up in Honduras the next day. But that is how we got there.
Go.
Yeah. So, Kate, you want to talk about the country?
Who is that on?
Yeah.
So Honduras is a very small country in Latin America. It's about the same size of Delaware, which is a pretty small state, if you know. It borders Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua. It's the second poorest country on the Western Hemisphere. The poorest is Haiti, and Honduras is one of the poorest countries in the world. When we talk about where we stayed and what we did, when we say the village, it's the orphanage. The kids don't call it the orphanage. People don't call it the orphanage. We call it the village. And we stayed in a town called Amoa, which is 2.5 hours away from the largest city, Tegucigalpa. And it's 1 hour away from the second largest city, San Pedro Sula. And we flew into San Pedro Sula, right? Yeah.
There it is. The orphanage, the village, is about 2 miles away from Nicaragua, right? Or Guatemala. So it's north. So from Guatemala, it's on the road to Guatemala. So I guess we're going to keep this PG, but the windows and doors and everything have bars on them, we found out, because they're so close. That's to protect the children at night so that they aren't removed by people in Guatemala. So it's not like when I think of an orphanage, you think it's like protected and surrounded, and it is protected by God. But there is it's a field on a dirt road to Guatemala.
So on this trip, we stayed in this motel. My first trip to Honduras, this trip was much better because on my first trip to Honduras, they too had bars, on the windows, and they locked gates in the evening. But the men on that trip, me and the guys that went, we stayed in the orphanage, and they locked the doors in.
They locked you in at night.
Yeah, they locked you in at night, and it was a very unpleasant feeling. But this time we stayed at the orphanage.
Or the hotel.
Or the hotel. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, so this, the hotel is kind of an open air. Like, there's no walls really except the actual room you're staying in. So anywhere you eat or hang out or walk, you have a view. That's us at night playing games, and that's some of the food that we had. It was also a restaurant, so they provided 2 meals a day. And that right there is at the end of the hall where our rooms were. And so at night we would go play games and get bit by mosquitoes. And but this is our view is that water, which is the Caribbean, depending on potato. But DMR and Juan are the owners of that, and DMR is a Christian, and she actually on Thursdays, I think, or I don't know, 2 or 3 days while we were there, they had a church service. There is a church that uses their restaurant area for their service. So we were serenaded by worship songs in Spanish, and we listened to the sermons, although we have no idea what they were saying. But you could feel Jesus in the building. It was pretty amazing. That's the downstairs of eating area.
So in contrast to the orphanage,
Yeah,
this building has no bars.
this building has no
It
bars.
doesn't even have a door into the restaurant. It's all open. So the only thing that was keeping us safe was that little lock on our door.
Yeah.
So that was very
Like a little-
contrasting. Yeah.
So Amoa is the town that we stayed in, and at the entrance of the towns, they have usually some sort of statue or something that represents the town. And this one this is Amoa, right? So this is he's holding a fish because it's a big fishing town. Right outside of the restaurant, there was a huge pier, and people were always fishing at all times of the day. There was fishing happening. One of the surprising things were, I guess for us, it seemed like whenever we drove around, it was very, literally, it was like very dirty. And I guess that's because there wasn't a lot of paved roads. They're dirt roads, so dirt is everywhere. I imagine it would be that way if we didn't have paved roads here. So it's, it's very like there's a lot of hustle and bustle and noise, people hanging out on their porches, and lots of people have little shops that they've built or little shacks outside their houses. A lot of them make fresh tortillas. So you stop there, you get a fresh tortilla, but since everybody's making fresh tortillas and everybody there knows how to make fresh tortillas, we never really saw anybody buying fresh tortillas. They were just sitting there, hanging out with people, eating their tortillas. It was kind of interesting.
So this is a school bus, but this is not a school bus. This is their public transportation.
Yeah.
And what they do, I found out by talking to some people, is they have these stops and people get on, but the driver, because they lease the sites, the routes, but to make sure the drivers do the routes, they have these little ticket things on the outside that you would think you would put your ticket in to get in, but when they stop there, the driver has to get out and punch a ticket to prove that he
went on the route.
But I was wondering why there's just dozens and dozens and dozens of these old school buses, and this is what they use for their public transportation in this area that we were. This is just a little shop. This is Katie's favorite place.
Pictures, yeah.
The-
Tres leches. Katie has developed a love.
Cake, but it's like soaked in milk, and it's so good.
Yeah, she made friends with Henry, one of the managers of the hotel restaurant, and so
Free leche for her.
I was going to say that there's three teen girls and one girl who is 19, and Katie had the hookup on the tres leches. So after we all at late at night when we were all getting ready for bed, he would cut her tres leches cakes for the girls.
Okay. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Ashley, she started this bilingual school in the village. And then after the school got going, then they purchased property and built a school. And then this is in town, and this is the school. So each day, the kids in the village get on a bus and go to this school, along with a lot of kids from the public. So this school, this particular bilingual school, has 300 students. And there's probably 70 from the village, and the rest are from the local area
It's
that
a
come.
private school
private-
situation. So
private
you have
school.
the very wealthy and then the incredibly poor. So in the same for the kids to be able to go to school, they charge the wealthy families for their kids to go to this private school, and they do have great teachers, but it's quite a contrast. And they told us ahead of time, you're going to see kids. Their parents are going to bring them about, because there are some restaurants like Wendy's or whatever, Burger King, whatever. So you'll see kids having their Wendy's bag of food or whatever. And then there's the reason why they have the village kids go into a lunchroom that is only for them, because they have rice and beans every day of their life for lunch.
Yeah.
That's all they have. So you have these kids who are, not dissimilar to teenagers at our school. And then you have these kids who have rice and beans every day. And so they eat separately, but you still see them. And so that was kind of a harsh contrast.
So this is Marcella,
This is Marcella.
and this was kindergarten.
Uh-huh.
And when we went to the school, we were placed as helpers. Katie and I was placed as helpers, I think, in the fourth grade class. No, fourth grade
first.
class. Jody was in the kindergarten class. Nothing was happening in the fourth grade class. We just kind of sat back there. So Jody said, "Come to the kindergarten class." So you all know, because I teach kids, I don't like the glitter, right?
Glue and
I
glitter.
don't like the glue. So what I did, I went in class and say, "This is the class." I went and I went way back there, and I sat in a chair. And Marcella was way up here, and she wasn't going to have it.
But I'll tell you first, Marcella, because I had spent half a day with her before they got there. She does what she wants. She doesn't matter. She would come up to you with these angel eyes and lovingly stroke your arm and speak to you in Spanish. And I just thought, oh, this is like love. This is like the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. And the teacher got up and scolded her and made her sit in the corner. Whatever she was saying to me was not love. And so she does not like most people. She sits at a desk, at a table by herself, because she pinches, she hurts, she does what she wants, she doesn't listen to anybody. And so they come in, and she sees him, and she beelines it for him and drags him to her table. And for the
Right.
next 4 days, he was hers. And that is the lunchroom that we were in for the village kids. Now, she's a private school kid. Her grandparents own the store that the other kids can buy like popsicles and stuff at. And so she came into our lunchroom and was doing this for 4 days.
Yeah.
Bringing him snacks that she got from her grandparents
Not
at the
just
store
at
too.
lunch.
Not just at lunch.
All
Anytime she
times
saw
of the
him,
day.
Yeah.
during the high school recess times, she would be running around. I'm like, what? She leaves the classroom and they don't even bother anymore. They just,
But she
does
brought
what
me
she wants.
snacks.
But she brought him snacks from her
She is very
grandparents' store.
smart. So
What?
she is very smart.
She's very smart.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Marcella. She was a source of entertainment for days. So this
Yeah.
is the classroom.
So
Yeah, this is the
Marcella would sit at this like rectangle table, right? And then my dad was in like the very back corner, and she ran across the room and come here. And
She saw a sucker.
I guess, yes. So this is this is kind of their playground area. It's a big cement, basketball, volleyball. Where we're taking the picture from is a big stage where I guess they have plays and different things. But the school is very nice. It's as you can see, this is all undercover. So in the summertime when it's really hot, they're in shade. When we were there, it was like the monsoon season, And so, I mean, just rain.
When
I
it
think,
rains,
I think I
it's
sent some of the guys
insane.
pictures of the rain coming down, but it would just rain. They would have to cancel school. Roads
Yeah.
would be washed
If it
out.
started raining in the morning, you'd have like 2 feet of water immediately. It was just crazy.
And the schools, for any high schoolers or middle schoolers that go to school, it's not like ours where it's closed in. Like everything is, there's no walls. There's no walls around this gym. It's just a roof. And then this upper like level of the school has walls, but like the downstairs, there's no walls.
Yeah.
It's just a roof.
Right. Go ahead.
So Dunya and Daylin, this is Dunya and Daylin. They are village kids. So at lunchtime or their break times, we would hang out with them in the undercover area, and they are so full of love. They loved us immediately. When they see you at the school, they only known you 2 days. They would run and be like, my long lost
The girls.
best friend. The
not
girls,
the boys.
the boys, a little different, but they still beelined it for you.
Yeah. So this girl on the right, you might see another girl that you think is her, but she has a sister.
And we got them confused all the
Yeah.
time.
Victoria.
Victoria and
So
Daylin, they
let's
look
go to
exactly
the village.
same.
There's a whole slide on them.
Go ahead. So this is the village. This is they have 2 sections of the village where they live. This is the boys' dorm rooms, and each section, the boys and the girls, they have what they call house moms, and there's 3 in each, and they do everything. They do all the cooking, the cleaning. They do all of the stuff for the kids. When the kids get on the bus to go to school, they get on the bus.
She's got slides on it.
Okay. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
So this is the girls' dorm. This is down the road, I think about 1,000 feet from the boys' dorm. And so this is the newer section of the village. Go ahead. Laundry room, just basically like a washer dryer that we would have.
But they only have one working one, right?
Well, our team bought new washers and dryers, I believe. And so they're being replaced.
Because they were spinning them by hand when we were there.
Yeah, some of them
and
they
so
were
we got
spinning by
them.
hand. Go ahead. Okay, so this is the inside of the girls' dorm. You can see those spots on the ceiling. And then this is one of the girls' bedrooms. And since we were there in the monsoons, we got to see that this was leaking. It was just pouring water down inside
Straight into their rooms.
the rooms and this hallway here where they played. And so one of our team members
donated money to have the roof fixed, and they started fixing it while we were there, which was really amazing because we walked in and everything's just wet. So that was pretty amazing, and they hired someone like a local contractor, so the money went into the community, and then that person fixed the roof while we were there. So that was pretty good because it's the monsoon season. This is the kitchen in the girls' building, and the house moms are like incredible. They got it down. They cook meals for 30 kids or 40 kids because there's about 30 to 40 kids in each building, right? Ish.
There's about 20 boys and 40 girls.
There you go. Okay. So they cook and clean and get it all out there. Get and feed all these kids like in a short order. I mean, granted, it is rice and beans, so it's the same thing every day. But when we were there, they were able to. That would be like that's their plate. They did have meat that day. They said that they get meat when we visit, so that was hard to hear because they had meat every day.
So rice and beans and tortillas and pasta are like the cheapest things. So that's what most people eat. And today was like a special day because they got to have hamburger, and they also got chicken when we were there. And because that's the cheapest thing, a lot of people in Honduras have diabetes by the age of like 25 or 30 because that's all they eat is carbs, which turns into sugar.
Yeah. So the only appearing fruit that they have is plantains, which is a carb.
Which is not very nutritious.
Yeah. So, so they have rice and beans. What do they have for breakfast? Do you remember?
Tortillas.
Tortillas.
They have plantains and rice.
Plantains and rice, and then at lunch they have the rice and beans, and then at dinner they have tortillas for dinner.
Yeah, tortillas, eggs, and beans. And they don't drink with their meals.
Yeah, they don't drink with their meals. So that was like, they do that for us. They bring out drinks for us, but they don't drink fluids with their meals.
Yeah, so the team members that went, when we would get our plates, it would have big pieces of chicken and things, and so we would just cut it up and give it to all the kids for their meals.
Everybody did that. Nobody ate their meat.
Yeah.
We'd give it to the kids.
The picture is mom learning how to make the tortillas.
I learned how to make tortillas.
Like actual tortillas,
Actual
not like
real
store-bought.
tortillas. And they laughed at me the whole time.
About the house moms, Dad, if you want to.
So we expect next potluck you're going to be making tortillas.
I absolutely can do that.
So these you can barely see the house moms, but one on the bottom left,
In the stripe and then the pink.
couple getting off the bus, and they do all the work, and their pay is I think $2.25 a day.
$1.50.
Oh, $1.50 a day is what they get paid
Yeah, American,
for-
$1.50.
for doing this
Yeah,
work.
they when they had families, a lot of these women have been here for 15, 20 years. So when they had babies, they would go home at night, but now some of them, one or two of them do stay, but they cook, they clean, they do the laundry. So the impression is like they're the moms of the kids. They're not really. They are doing too much to be like mentoring or loving on the kids.
Yeah,
they
don't-
are lovely women and they love the kids, but they are working the whole time.
They don't really talk to the kids at all.
They don't really. They're not really. They don't really interact with the kids other than handing them the bowls of food.
So these are some of the kids, and so these are 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids here. There are some younger in the orphanage, but
Some older too.
or the village. But what really got to us is that these kids come when they're like 3, and this is their whole life.
They've spent the kids that are there have
Yeah.
spent their whole lives there, and there's lots of stories about how they got there, which we aren't going to share today, because they're trying to keep it PG, and not heart heavy, but this has been their home their whole lives, pretty much. So there are lots of siblings here too, some that are together and some that live in different houses, but
Oh, and the boys, see that Uno sign up there? They like
love-
to cheat in Uno.
they call Uno cheaters.
They say, "Let's play some cheaters."
Let's play some cheaters. They have their own Honduran rules, so
It's pretty. We should play a church Honduran Uno.
we should.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, so that's Katie on the right one. That's Katie in the red, and then Meredith on the left. She's one of the other teens that were there. Huh? Oh, is that Hannah? That's Hannah then on the left, and then Dominique is she's a ballerina. She's the one with her legs stretched out. But the kids love games, and so we were told to bring some, and everybody on the team brought some, but that's how we kind of broke the ice with the boys, because the boys are a little slower to get to know. So
This is the kids' school schedule. Everybody at the village wakes up at 4 a.m. and they take a shower. They eat the breakfast and they get on the bus at 5:30. It's an hour and a half to the school, so they get to school at 7. They leave the school at 2 and they arrive home at 3:30. They eat dinner at 5, and then the house moms go to wherever. And then they do homework, and then most of them just soccer, always, boys and girls, cards. Sometimes they have Wi-Fi if it's not raining, and then they go to sleep. And that's all they do every single day of their whole lives for until they want to leave the village.
Yeah. So this day, they were making Christmas cookies. and that was a big deal when we were there. And so they were determined. So up on the left, that's Roselli. They were determined. She's one of the older girls. She's just lovely. They were determined to get the gringos with the flour. And so they were chasing everybody around, trying to throw flour in their face when they were making the cookies. No. That's Genesis. Yeah, so, and that's Katie and Hannah on the bottom right, and then Dominique and the other white flour-covered person. So.
Okay, so the next is going to be a little bit about some of the kids that talk to, and this is, not, of course, not every kid in the village. There's probably 5 slides on them. Mm-hmm. First is Roselli and Haiti. And Roselli's 19 and in 11th grade in Honduras. They don't go to 12th grade. 11th grade is their senior year. And it's not based on age. It's based off of where you should be in school. So she's 19 and in 11th grade. And then Haiti's 17 and in 10th grade. They're sisters, and they came to the village 9 years ago. And they both really love fashion and art, and they're really sweet. And I think Roselli's the oldest girl at the village right now. She's in the red. This is Luis. Him and his 4 sisters came to the village 9 years ago. Luis is the only boy in his family. Like, his mother has sisters, and they all had girls. And his dad's not present, so he's the only boy. And he does visit his family sometimes. And he really wants to come to America and go to school. And he's very good at English. He's probably the best in with English in the whole village, and he works very hard to do it.
He was also the hardest nut to crack.
Well, he came up to me.
I know, but he was hard to get to know, but he connected with Kate.
Is he what I had to talk with?
No, that's Kevin. This is Dalen, Dunya, Victoria, and Mimi. These are the 4 little sweethearts of the girl house. They're very sparky and very opinionated, and they have really big dreams. And they're also a little troublemakers. And they tried to sneak out of the school one day, remember? And they caught them, but yeah.
They walked down the road. They just decided to go for a walk. And the road to the school from the main road is pretty long. And they decided they just wanted to go for a walk.
And it is not safe for 4 little girls.
It's not safe
to be
for girls to
walking down
be
the road.
anywhere in Honduras without a chaperone.
A male chaperone.
A male chaperone.
This is Christian. He's 18 and in 11th grade. He goes to the Spanish school. So there's 2 schools, the bilingual and the Spanish school. So his English wasn't as good as some of the other ones, but he was still could communicate with him. He has siblings, and he came to the village 12 years ago. And they were found in some of the poorest conditions, right? And he's currently working in the mountains, collecting coffee beans. So if you ever go to Starbucks, some of your coffee might have been collected by him and his work. And he really loved Uno. Was his thing. Right. This is Hiram. He's 15 and in 8th grade. He really wants to be a doctor and loves science. I put him in here because I know we have some cat lovers, Julie. And so there's tons of cats everywhere. And Seahawks lovers. He always wore the Seahawks shirt. And so he would sit in the hammock all day, and all of the cats would lay on him. If you can see the picture, there was tons of cats, and so there was 3 cats that were always on him.
Yeah, I will say that animals in Honduras aren't pets. People that have animals that are not like cows and stuff, like cats and dogs, if they have one, just the dogs are there to guard, and they are not. Even the dogs who are treated well for Honduran standards are not anything that we've experienced before. It was very hard adjustment to see how animals are treated and how they live. But all the cats are wild.
Yeah.
And there's tons of wild dogs. There's no pets in Honduras.
This is Michael. He's 17 and in 10th grade. He really wants to travel the world. And I put him in here because I know we have sports fans. And he is really good at soccer. And he is being scouted by the Argentina soccer team, national soccer team. And so maybe we'll get to see him play one day in the World Cup. And he's just really good at it, and he really wants to do it. And that's what he wants to do. So, and this is all the girls at the girls' house.
It was raining really hard, which is why the photo's all foggy.
Yeah, and this is the day that we were leaving.
So
This is-
everybody's got red swollen eyes.
You can see Dunya, Victoria, and Daylin in the middle with Gary.
Gary's in the red shirt, yeah. Gary's one of the team leaders. Gary and Sylvia ran the team that led the team that we went with. So
And then the girl in the bright green shirt, I didn't have any single pictures of her, but her name's also Dunya, and she's the youngest girl at the village. She's 9 years old, and she's in first grade,
I think so.
second grade, and she is the youngest.
Okay.
Yep.
So then when we came home, we decided that we wanted to do something. We don't know what, but
Let me interject.
okay. Interject.
So while we were there, you could see remnants of what other teams had come and done. Someone came and built a chicken coop. Someone came and built a baseball field, a team. Another team came and built a aquaponics thing, building. And those specifically, the chicken coop is now stores firewood. The baseball field is just a grassy field.
They play
The
soccer on it.
aquaponics is, they play soccer on it. So the aquaponics place is just a storage area now. So you could see lots of evidence of people with good intentions coming and spending lots of money to build something they think that they need. We think you need a chicken coop because, eggs, great idea. It didn't work. It's not something that's not part of their culture. It's not something that they do. Baseball, they don't play baseball. They don't know what that is. So they play soccer. So that would have been a better thing. So we wanted to do something instead of saying, we think that you need this. Like, what is there? What could they really need? What could they really use that we could help with? That isn't going to be one of those things where you're just throwing money away on something that isn't something that they need or can use. So.
Yeah. So we kicked a lot of things around. We've talked about bringing some kids here, and keeping them in our house. We find out is a little hard to do.
Honduras does not adopt their children out. They put them in orphanages. In the only possible way for a foreigner to adopt a Honduran child is if you live there for 5 years, then you can start the application. And there's no guarantee that they're going to do it. They just don't adopt their children out.
That's for kids under 18.
And
Yeah.
that's kids under 18.
Yeah. So we want to do something that's lasts long, and we are going to be asking our church family to help us at some point when we figure it out. But what we did find out is that there's I was looking at some of all places YouTube videos, and it mentioned this group. It's called Leadership Mission International, and as I looked them up, their home base happened to be in Seattle. So I got a hold of Hannah, which is sitting over here, and what they do. Well, I'm going to have her come up, but what they do is they take young ladies and they have their own place, and they bring them. It's like a farm. And they bring them, they teach them English, they teach them business skills, they teach them, all these type of things, and they help them develop as Christians and as young ladies to have a mission in life.
And there's microloans.
Yeah, there's
involved.
microloans.
I will say real quick, sorry.
She's going to say this, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that in Honduras, women are like the bottom of the totem pole. So they don't have a lot of opportunities. Once, you don't walk anywhere alone. You don't go anywhere alone. When you are of age, you get married, you have babies, and that's, what you do. And so this is an opportunity to change these girls' lives, right? So that's why, if anybody is thinking it, why not the boys? Well, boys do have opportunities, and there is opportunities for college, and there is ways, but this is there are no opportunities for girls. So this is one thing we found that was really amazing. So it's
Right.
a 2-year program.
And so, just for a couple minutes, I'm going to ask Hannah to come up and just share a little bit.
So much. Thank you so much, church. Thanks just for letting me be here. It's actually just been a really fun thing to get to know Jody and Martin and Katie and just their beautiful family. My name is Hannah, and I've actually been involved in Honduras for 10 years. February of 2014 was my first trip down, and I actually lived there for several years and have been a part of Leadership Mission International since that time in various capacities. And so what happened was, like Martin just said, he saw something about Leadership Mission International on YouTube, contacted me, and we got together in January and spent hours talking just about personal life and about ministry and about family. And it just felt like one of those golden thread moments, when God just brings people together. And even just being at your church this morning, the worship was so wonderful, and I feel like it's such a gift. I've been a Christian now for multiple decades. I'm sure many people in this room have been. And I feel like no matter how many churches in the world I go to, no matter what country I'm in or what space I'm in, it is such a blessing to get to be with other people who are following Jesus, who are worshiping God, and just trying to navigate, what is the Holy Spirit leading me to with my life right now? And so it's just fun to be hearing about Honduras from the lens of these 3 people who went randomly because they felt like God was leading them there and then fell in love with a lot of the people that are there. So I feel excited about being able to partner with their family and with you in whatever way makes sense. And as Martin and Jody were sharing, Leadership Mission International exists specifically for women. We have a 150-acre campus. It's in the mountains in rural Honduras. It is very agricultural. We have a big coffee farm. We also have chickens and pigs and tons of vegetables and vegetable gardens, and we grow a lot of our corn and beans on campus. But really the heartbeat of the organization is this 2-year training program for women where they have the opportunity to really dig deep in their spiritual life and also gain practical skills in business and leadership and community development so that they can go. Many of them are coming from really, really rural areas, generational poverty that's pretty extreme in a lot of cases. So they have the opportunity to then think about, how can I help to support my community to have sustainable opportunities for market growth? How can I think about, they were sharing a little bit about those storefront businesses. This is a common issue in Honduras, actually. All of these storefront businesses that have the same products, nobody's buying. And so that really is hard on very small rural communities. So helping the women to think about innovative opportunities for small business to thrive. And we have women now who are leading all kinds of really cool, unique businesses, like a moto taxi parts company. Moto taxis are like these tiny 3-wheel cars that do a lot of public transportation in the rural areas. Yeah, they do. They do. All kinds of really cool, unique, small businesses. But really, and they mentioned this already, our heart is that these women would recognize that they were created in the image of God and that they have an opportunity to create community impact, that their life matters, that there's a reason that they're alive, and that it's not just about them. It's about the bigger community. How can they make an impact on the people around them? So, I've been involved in this organization for a long time, so obviously I'm passionate about it, but I would love for you guys to come and see. It's such a great place to be because the women there are filled with hope, with dreams, with a lot of ideas and creativity about how they can make a difference in their country, and we're seeing them do that once they graduate. So I'd love for you guys to be able to come, or I can also kind of share other YouTube videos or whatever is helpful so you can see some of them speaking from their own mouths about the change that's happened in their lives, both in terms of their relationship with Jesus, also in terms of their relationship with their self, and with their communities and the ways that they're thinking about their own lives. So yeah, that's just a little tidbit. Thanks so much for letting me be here with you all.
So one last thing is, as we're closing, I've been thinking a lot about how we can help. That's kind of been my focus. And it just reminded me of a story, and I'm sure that you guys have heard this story of a guy walking down the beach. And he comes across this area where there's thousands of starfish that is washed up on the beach. And we know that if they stay up on that beach, they're going to die there. And as he's walking down through these starfish, he sees this kid, and the kid is picking up one starfish at a time, and he's taking him out in the ocean, and he's putting out in the ocean. And so the guy calls him and says, what do you think you're doing? You're not making a difference here. And the kid says, he picks up one starfish. Anyway, he says, I'm making a difference.
So I will say that one of the things that was in the back of our mind while we were in Honduras is that Katie Katie's also a Girl Scout, which all of you know because we bought so many cookies from her over the years. And then 2020 happened, and she kind of got out of the cookie game. She has, and I won't go into the super details, but she's accomplished her bronze award in her elementary years and her silver award in her junior high years. And now she has the opportunity to do a Girl Scout Gold Award. That's equivalent to a Boy Scout Eagle Award. And if you haven't completed them all at the time that they were designated, then you don't get to do the Gold Award. So she's had many ideas about what she's going to do. And when we got to Honduras, it was like, no doubt, whatever she did, it was going to have to impact this country. She wanted to do something for this country. A lot of people do, because what you do is supposed to have a lasting impact. And a lot of girls do like a little library or put a park bench somewhere. She wanted to do something different. So we've had many ideas. The thing that she's fallen on is, and I should let her talk about this, but the thing that she's fallen on is sponsoring a girl, paying her tuition for 2 years. Katie's got $1,000 saved up in her Girl Scout bank account, so that will pay for 3 months. So I know at some point in the future, she's going to be, so pray for her, she's going to be raising money to try and finish the amount that she'll need to sponsor a girl for the 2 years. That's her first goal. I think the goal is to eventually do more, but we're starting with one girl.
Right, so that was supposed to be the focus of the story, one starfish. Hannah didn't mention, but the cost of sponsoring a girl is $300 a month. Just think about that. That pays for their food, their lodging, their education, their uniforms, whatever that is. They pays for everything. Just think how many.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So
that's our trip.
Yeah, and
we were touched. These kids have nothing, and they loved us with everything. They were so amazing. Yeah, yeah.
You mingled with all of these kids. What do they do? And I'm talking practical stuff. Do they have pencils? Do they have paper? Do they need things like this besides all the other things that you and your mom and dad have talked about?
So it's very hard to ship things to Honduras because of the government. But some practical things that they need are feminine products, soap. They have a lot of pencil and paper from the schools and from donations, but things that they need that are games. They use a lot of games, but clothes. All their clothes are donated. None of the clothes that you see in that picture are new. They're all handed down. They're all reused, which is, it's better than nothing. But it would be nice. And like the quinceañera dresses, we went to quinceañeras, and those are all reused too. Like none of the girls have their own. But it's a lot of feminine products and soap is what they really need. But it's if you're gonna give it to them, you need to come from America with the stuff and bring it. You need to bring 5 suitcases worth of that stuff.
Or send it with a team.
Or send it with a team.
Yeah.
Because there is places to buy them, but it's not high quality, not
Yeah.
Things are expensive there. It's not cheap.
Yeah.
Like
It's
in some countries, it's not cheap.
it might even be more expensive than here, honestly.
So we are planning to go down another trip to the Leadership Mission International to see their facilities and get in contact with them and see what they're doing. Katie was approached a couple days ago about going back with the group we went with, and that would be in July. We're thinking, we don't know when we're going, but
Hannah is going to be there in April, so that's also another possibility. Like because it's around the time Katie has spring break. So if we do that, then we'll be taking what we can.
right.
So, yeah.
But we don't know for sure.
One
When
more
That's what
thing,
he always says.
Right.
One more
And
thing
then we're on a
for-
That's
plane.
my thing.
Yeah.
So, but for sure we can start by helping sponsor a girl or two. So
Yeah.
One more
And-
thing, Dad.
Yeah.
Another, what they really, they have everything that they need. What they really like and want is people to visit them. Is for groups to come down and talk with them. It's because they have nobody. It's just,
yeah, one thing that was really another heartbreaking is during COVID. They were stuck in that village
because
with
the
no
group
one.
we went down with, the leaders would go every month to Honduras, and they would come back and they would go for like 10 days at a time.
They would take teams every month.
and then
before
when COVID happened, they started going through every 3 months,
they were going
and
2
then
to 4
they
times
couldn't
a
go
year.
at all. And then now there's
2 to 4 times a year.
now it's 2 to 4 times a year, and so it's just gotten like less.
So when it was
and
once a
less.
month, they knew that like for a week, every month, they were going to have people to
Mm-hmm.
visit and talk with and play games with, and then after COVID, it was they had months without seeing anybody. So and
Like
and
secluded.
when you go there, there's not for lack of trying, but there's just not a lot for them to do. There's like a soccer ball that they all share, this kind of thing.
And some of the I don't know if the girls do this, but some of the boys I met about 15 out of the 17 because some of them wouldn't even come out
Yeah,
because they
would.
knew that you were going to leave and that they might not
Yeah.
see you again.
They know the heartbreak of that you're going to come for a week and they'll never see you again.
Mhm.
So
I know that I don't know how many boys and girls you met, but
yeah,
I got
Probably.
to go into like the back and
Yeah.
see most
yeah.
of them.
We probably
Visit
like
most of them.
five boys that got close to us. So,
Yeah.
but the
Um,
girls are different. They don't care.
Girls,
that
they
you're
just
staying
come
there
right
for a
up to
day.
you
They
and you're their
wanna
best friend
hang with you.
forever. And
Yeah. So
Adult interaction do they have? House moms aren't there.
0.
there's no one. There's no one there.
Locked into their building.
Yeah.
And they're like chickens with a pecking order,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
For
there's a
real.
And
very
so-
big pecking order for the boys, not really the
Right.
girls.
So the oldest boy or the one who's on top, he's kind of the king. And if you're on the bottom, you give up your
You're
food.
in the hammock with the cats. Seriously.
Yeah, we've seen some. We saw when we were there, some of the kids try to take the other kids' food and
Yeah.
different things like that. So, but suffice it to say that we want to do something, and we hope to team with several people. And as we figure that out, we will bring updates
Yeah.
for this. But I know,
Yeah. It's time.
I think it's time.
Yeah.
So Pastor Rich is coming back up, I think.
Thank you for listening.